Don't get used to this, it'll grow back. It was just
Welcome to the apocalypse.
Yeah.
The Cubs have made it to Game 7, and he is without a beard.
Yes. Well, by the time this goes up, we'll have known if they won or not. So, if so...
I am,
Hell yeah! If not, it's an honor to be nominated. It's an honor to make it after, fucking, what was it, 80 years? Something like that?
108.
No. That they won getting there, wasn't it? Like 80-something?
Oh, last time they were there, we were dropping atomic bombs on Japan.
Yeah. So, happier times.
I'm terrified beyond the capacity for rational thought.
Well,
this is Ghostbusters shit.
Well, if you think that's scary, let's talk about today's real thoughts. We don't usually do it this close, but seeing how it's about to break 1 million, if it hasn't by this point in a week, which for us is pretty quick, let's talk about Freddy versus Jason. Because no, I think there's stuff to talk about there.
It's just, I think the one thing that I said, and I think it holds true for the whole movie. There was one moment I turned to you and I said, "Do you realize we are?" It was like 45 minutes or more. It was like an hour into this movie. Yeah, we're an hour into this movie, and only now is Freddy actually versusing Jason.
When they did, it was cool. When they are on screen, it's fun. But there's not much of them on screen. But when they do, it's awesome.
I liked that part of it.
Yeah,
I'm just like,
when they are on screen, they're both great. I mean, Jason doesn't require much, but even for that, they add a few things. They have him on fire, cutting people in half, and throwing the knife and everything. I mean, that's pretty cool. And then when he's up with his one-liners, being silly and stuff like that, and killing people. But he's mostly out of it until he finally gets his power back. And finally, when they verse each other twice. And it's one of those things where it's like when they do, it's really clever because one is in the dream world. So Jason's in his world, he's going to have the advantage. And another is in the dream world, so that's Jason's advantage. And it's like, you that's just really said smart.
You said one is in the dream world, and then you said the other is in the dream world.
Oh, I thought I said real world, I'm sorry. Real world. One's in the dream world, one's in the real world. And so they each have an advantage, and it's like, that's really clever. That's such a smart idea. But everything that's not them is so boring and so dull.
The most stock teenage characters I've seen.
Even by these movies, these are just such dull, boring stereotypes. Teen stereotypes, I should say. There's worse teen stereotypes, but I mean, that's what they are. They're just the, hey, here's the good-looking jock, here's the good-looking cheerleader.
Okay. Yeah. It makes those CW shows look like high art.
Yeah, that's all I'll say. It just felt like Dawson's Creek or whatever show is on now. I don't watch CW that much.
Whatever Pretty White Kids in Trouble show.
Yeah, unless there's a superhero in it, then somehow they make that work, because you kind of know that's the formula, and they have fun with it and stuff. But with the other shows, it seems like, no, like kids are watching it like, yeah, this is me.
Not always. Arrow has Olicity, and I'm kind of done with that. So, the plot just made no sense, okay? What killed me is that bit where it's just like, my mother died in a car crash, oh no. Okay, and later it's like, oh no, I killed your mother. I stabbed her in bed 100 times. I'm like, then how did you think she died in a car? Like, no, how do you...
And then it wasn't even that.
Yes, it's really an obvious
Freddy.
Car crash. She crashed into a knife factory. What?
No, it's not even that. It's really Freddy. And, we don't even know. It's like, is he possessing him, or is he, on top of her, stabbing him, and then he went in to try and kill Freddy?
Okay.
If so, that's pretty complicated for the kid to see that and everything. And then you have this whole thing about that. I like a little bit the idea of all the adults doing this conspiracy to make people forget about Freddy at the sacrifice of, 3 or 4 kids. Because they're like, the greater good, whatever. But I like that. I like that they'd be so twisted and tormented, but it never seems to go anywhere. It's just, hey, they did this.
Okay, so there's a cover-up, but does nobody live outside of Elm Street?
Yeah,
does nobody ever move?
Nobody looks deeper into this. It's just the whole world in on it that we're not supposed to pry any further.
And for that matter... Something that I hadn't really thought about a lot over the years, but it finally was starting to hit me when they do the whole flashback. It was like, that's right, I like killing me some little girls and little kids and this and that. And I'm just like, for somebody who really got his start killing little kids, he only seems to focus on teenagers.
Yes.
I'm like, and I
haven't seen all the other movies, but it's like, he doesn't go after kids. Once or twice he does go after kids, but you're right, it's mostly teenagers.
I'm just saying,
adults.
I'd figure after how many movies he'd finally be like, I need to get back to my roots, because this is not working.
I feel like kids are easier to get.
I feel like I should
They're a little bit more defenseless.
You know what? I should just give Elm Street a fucking rest, go to happier hunting grounds, and haunt the dreams of some little kids. I'm just like, the whole movie opens with killing little kids. I'm just like, and he never kills little kids again. I don't know.
Maybe I should broaden my horizon. Maybe deer. Just go hunt deer.
I haven't
seen
every single Nightmare on Elm Street.
No, I've seen a couple.
And I certainly didn't see the remake, the reboot or whatever recently. I've seen about maybe 4 Nightmare on Elm Street movies and the new Nightmare. So I don't know. Maybe they were in the couple I missed. But
they seem to make up the rules as they go in those.
I don't know. But I'm just like, I don't know. Just once again, I'm just like, so he was a child killer that kills no children.
And then there's a strange part of me that both like highly respects but also gets a little pissed off that they don't even attempt to explain any of the last movie before this movie, because it was Jason X and New Nightmare, which just really go off the rails, one in a good way and one in a bad way. New Nightmare was a good way. I thought that was clever. But then Jason X was just so ridiculous. I'm sure it's meant to be ridiculous.
I'm not sure New Nightmare was even meant to be canon.
It's sort of its own thing.
I think it's its own. I think it's supposed to be its own thing.
But they do say he's now like this demon, this thing, whatever. But I don't know. Maybe it is one of those things where it's like, if you want to look at it as, well, it's still in Freddy's world or whatever. New Nightmare never happened stuff. But you want to count New Nightmare, you can just be like, they just wrote a movie. That's it. It's kind of what it is. It's like, once you do that, you can always just be like, they wrote a movie. It's a movie. We acknowledge it's a movie even in the movie. So, fuck it. I guess. But there is a part of me that just respects. They're like, we're not even gonna try. But it's like I said, I don't know whether to be like, kudos, I get it, or just be like, oh, how cool would it have been if they found some way to work both those stories in somehow still.
And then Jason, they make out to, I mean, I guess I get it, but at the same time, I kind of figured they were both kind of assholes. But it's like, no, Jason's kind of the good guy, because I guess you can't really have sympathy for a child killer.
Well, he's not a good guy, but he has the sympathetic backstory.
I'm afraid of water.
He has the sympathetic backstory. Which I like. Again, I want them to be a little different that way, but he'll still just randomly kill people. I mean, just for really no reason.
But did you see those teenagers? That was a blessing. Some of the
that's why people see them.
I've ever met.
That's why people see Freddy and Jason as these icons and these heroes, because they kill off all these characters we can't.
Oh, they're doing us a favor. I mean, they are weeding out the Darwin Award winners. It's natural selection going on.
I actually really like that scene when the water stopped him, and I can't remember if water was I know he drowns and everything, but I can't remember if that was an issue. Was he afraid of it in the movies? I can't remember. I don't know if that was a new thing or not, but I like that addition, and I like seeing him afraid, and I like seeing him, resort down to a child crying and stuff like that, and then Freddy has control. I thought that was really clever. I thought that was kind of a cool idea.
You'd have to talk to a horror movie aficionado. I am not. So
yeah,
if he was terrified of water, I don't remember, but I've seen 2 of those films. So,
but it's one of those things how
I always like Nightmare more, because I thought at least
it was a little more creative.
Yeah, I thought they were more creative.
And even if they're dumb, they at least had some creativity to them, and they get really dumb. But with there's something to, in Star Trek First Contact, suddenly Patrick Stewart has this thing about the Borg, and he's obsessed, and it's Ahab and the whale and stuff like that. But it's no. Yeah, but it's where did this come from? This was never in the show, really. I mean, after he got away, he was okay. It never came up again all the other times he encountered the Borg. But I like that addition. It's it's cool. I like it.
I don't know. They kind of did.
Not like they did in First Contact.
Well, no, right after Now we're gonna have a Trekkie discussion. Right after Best of Both Worlds, they did have an episode where he had basically had gone through some PTSD shit.
Like he's recovering.
Yeah, like he's recovering.
But they've encountered the Borg 5 or 6 other times after that, and it didn't bother him. This time he's like, no, they've gone too far. They've gone too far. And
okay,
where did this come from?
I guess it's a little over the top, but it did bother him. He's like, we have to.
But you know what I mean, in First Contact, they make it a huge deal in this big focus.
No, it is a big deal.
And I think the same thing with Jason, where it's even if it wasn't as big a deal, which again, I'm not sure, if they added it being a really big deal, I'm okay with it, because I thought it was a cool idea. And they both sort of have their own weaknesses. Freddy's just the real world. You bring him into the real world and, oh shit, all I have are these air tank torpedoes. Well, you sure I'm not in the dream world? But, the fighting when they're fighting is great, and it's good action.
That's when the movie finally came alive.
Yeah.
Now, there were 2 points. It was when Jason came out in the cornfield, I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Pretty awesome.
And then when they finally started fucking fighting.
Yeah.
But it was I swear to God, it was 40 minutes until any of that. I'm just like...
It was an hour until we got our first fight sequence with them. And it's an hour and a half movie. So I guess you could say, that's Batman v Superman, which a lot of people also didn't like. But...
There wasn't that much V in it. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's for a movie called Versus, there's not been Versus.
Batman, Superman, and Freddy and Jason.
Well, and it's funny because I was watching, because I don't know how a lot of the past Versus movies go. Not that there's many, but stuff like Godzilla versus King Kong, or Frankenstein versus Dracula or the Wolfman, however many of those were. There's a couple, and I don't know if they just had it where they fought at the end and that was it. If so, that's stupid. I mean, I understand building it up, but it's called Versus. You should really have that be the focus. I mean, I understand, like I said, getting the background, setting up and everything, but you should be what the title of your film is. Because I heard some people saying, wasn't it cool that they had 2 fights in this? I'm like, just 2? I want
a movie
3 or
Freddy
4.
versus fucking Jason? That had better be most of the movie, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, it's if in Terminator 2, let's say it was called Terminator 2 versus the T-1000 or something, and they fight once at the end. I feel really ripped off. I'd be like, no, give me a whole bunch of different scenarios where they're fighting, and and there's chases, and there's all sorts of cool stuff.
Maybe Freddy tag team Jason throughout a good chunk of it.
Yeah. You're next, I'm next, you're next, I'm next.
But hey, it had Dipper.
What's so funny is I've seen him once or twice in recent photos. Maybe because of the show, I just assumed he was kind of a scrawny kid. I knew he had a strong jawline and stuff, but I kind of thought he was just sort of a scrawny kid, kind of a cracking voice and stuff. Then you see him, it's yeah, he's a jock in this. I was really not expecting that. I was like, oh, I didn't know he was actually
Dipper will kick your ass.
Yeah, he's actually kind of like a football player or something in this movie, or at least looked like one. But there's one line he does. I mean, the teens do fine for what they have to do. They have to be generic teens, and that's what they do. There's one line that kind of cracks me up. I didn't reference it because it was already long enough. But when he says that he saw her dad kill her mom, he almost laughs. He's like, you see, I saw your dad kill your mom. He does a weird, right? kind of thing. And it's one of those things where you just know he's watching it I can't believe they went with that take.
No, maybe it's true. It really happened. Let me consult the book.
It's one of those things where I just saw it. I was just like, oh, that's not the take.
I sure saw Grunkle Stan do it.
What? The insurance money will be great.
We'll make it look like a car accident. Who wants to help bury a body?
I am very glad how few Dipper jokes I did, by the way, in this. I just made a joke. I could have made more with the book, but no, I kept it simple. So, yeah, I'm trying to think what this guy has also done. Bride of Chucky, which was also trying to sort of bring back. The whole thing with Child's Play. And again, it's kind of this similar movie where it's when it's kind of funny and you see the 2 dolls together and stuff. It's kind of fun and kind of cool.
It's self-aware.
It's definitely self-aware. It opens with the guy finding the Chucky doll in a storage place that has Michael Myers' mask and I think and I want to say Jason's mask and Freddy Krueger's glove or something like that. So it's very, very self-aware. I think this one's a little self-aware, but not much. It's definitely not like Bride of Chucky.
I feel like that's a particular problem with horror movies. I guess it's just because they go on so long. You always get to that point where they just become self-aware, and it's like, well, I guess we're going to make fun of it now.
Well, and it's weird, I guess now having kind of grown up with it, seeing other movies that just kept coming out every Halloween, like Saw and Paranormal Activity, and seeing them kind of get worse and worse, it's kind of like, okay, I guess I understand it. You know, they sort of find something that you like, and it's like, there's kind of something in each film that's kind of neat, and it'll keep you coming back.
The Purge is hilarious because that became self-aware like really quickly compared to
no, I saw the third movie. I'm not gonna say it's like great or anything, but it is the best of the films. It's like on the verge, like I might actually say that's a good film. Like it's amazing to turn around those films. Well, not amazing, but very impressive. But yeah, there is this self-awareness that I think almost has to come from these horror films when they do get, you know, just sillier and sillier, or actually start off from silly beginnings when you think about it. Chucky's a silly beginning, Freddy Krueger is a silly beginning. Friday the 13th, I guess, not that silly, but kind of very quickly becomes silly. So, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it's not like there's no effort. You can tell, like, this guy knows how to frame a shot fun. He has some fun things with depth of field. He's obsessed with the color blue. And you just know he has like 3 or 4 scenes where I'm like, I'm gonna make this amazing. This is gonna be in all the trailers, and everything else is, okay, action, cut, fine, we'll do it. He's just thinking of those 3 or 4 scenes. I was like, I gotta get to this scene, I gotta get to this scene.
I will say this, it's a competently made film. We've seen a lot more incompetently made films, but a competently made film, when you're like, oh, Freddy versus Jason, I'm like, I don't want competence, I want something
awesome, yeah. And when, again, there are some awesome scenes that, you know, and when it is awesome, great! Why couldn't the rest of the movie be like that? It's kind of like, I mean, we're no, you know, surprise we give this away in the last one, but it's like in Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, it's like, there's some really awesome scenes.
I wish
why couldn't the rest of the movie be awesome? Yeah. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I can't say I hate it, I just hate waiting to get to those awesome scenes and seeing every single boring, dull, non-interesting thing. Why not focus on what made those movies so awesome and have those coming back, not just the checklist stuff of, okay, we have to have this because it's in the film, so just put it in. Let's not add anything different. Let's not make it interesting. Let's just put it in because it's on the checklist. So that sucks. But when they do the actual Freddy vs. Jason, the title of the film, it's really cool. So if that's what you're looking for, you'll have a good 10 minutes? Maybe that.
10, 15 if you're lucky.
But it's a solid 10. It's a solid 15 minutes, but...
it's the only part of that movie that was a solid 10.
Yeah. But, yeah, I'm trying to think. I can't think of too much else to say about it. Just, I'm glad y'all wanted to see. I think the other one we were thinking about doing, I was asking you, I was asking Mike Machado, I'm like, okay, so it's either this or Van Helsing. You're both like, I don't know, just do whatever you want. I'm like, I think Freddy vs. Jason might get a few more hits, and it's just like doing really great. It's like crazy how successful it is.
I had already seen Van Helsing too, and that movie's garbage.
Yeah, I mean that's like movie, long and boring.
The first 10 minutes of that film are great, and then it just falls. Pretty much the second Van Helsing shows up in Transylvania himself, it falls apart.
Yeah, so I might do it in the future. I'm not saying I'll never do it. It's just one of those where it's like, oh, because it's just so long and so boring, and again, kind of dull except for a couple scenes. So, I don't know, we'll probably get to it at some point, but man, I'm glad. I was just like, maybe Freddy vs. Jason, it's a little shorter. Maybe I'll get a few more hits. So, I'm glad you guys liked it. I'm glad you're sharing it around and everything, and yeah, I guess that's about it, and we'll just see you on the next Real Thoughts. Hopefully this will be back. Bye.
Go Apocalypse.